The Free Worlds League was formed in 2271 by the Treaty of Marik, which united three principalities in the volume of space the League presently occupies. These were the Grand Duchy of Oriente, the Principality of Regulus, and the Marik Commonwealth. All three were loosely structured mercantile associations of worlds left behind in the chaos following the decision of the Terran Alliance to grant independence to many of its wayward colonies. The leaders of these states decided that it was wiser, and more profitable, to join together than to fight. During the first 20 years of its existence, the League continued to expand as neighbouring groups joined to gain protection from pirates and hostile neighbours. In 2293, the League was determined to annex the six-world Stuart Commonalty, which didn't wish to join. Giuliano Marik led his navy into the Stuart system, reducing its defences in short order. The Stuart War was the first time the League Parliament designated a Captain General, a post that was only intended to last for the duration of a crisis. Except for the appointment of a member of the Salage family in 2306, by the mid-24th century, the Captain Generalship had become virtually hereditary to House Marik, who had the right of first refusal. The powers granted still applied only in time of war or crisis. In peacetime, House Marik was responsible for the maintenance and provisioning of the military. The years 2314 and 2398, between the fall of the Terran Alliance and the subsequent birth of the Terran Hegemony and the outbreak of the Andurien War, were almost a century of enormous expansion for the Free Worlds League. Formed early, the League had an advantage over its neighbours, and its essentially mercantile outlook boosted its growth. The systems around Andurien had a long history of being traded back and forth between the Capellan Confederation and the Free Worlds League. In 2398, the Capellan Chancellor declared war on the League to win back the Andurien system. This battle has since become known as the first in the 150-year era known as the Age of War. Just as the Free Worlds League had been growing and consolidating, so had the other interstellar powers. Tension along the borders of the various states had been increasing for years. The Andurien War, which involved huge armed forces on both sides, was a trigger that set off similar conflicts among the various states of the Inner Sphere. Widespread wars on such a scale also created massive destruction, leading the six great houses and two of the periphery states to sign the Ares Conventions in 2412. In the agreement, it was banned for the use of nuclear weapons and restricted the use of force against civilian populations. The Age of War saw the Terran Hegemony's development of the first battle mech in 2439. The Lyrans and the Federated Suns got the technology soon after, but the Free Worlds League did not until 2462, when a group of Lyran mechanics defected with a complete set of mech plans. The first mech versus mech battle was fought between Steiner and Kurita forces in 2475. The same year, the forces of the Terran Hegemony carried out a massive assault on the Free Worlds fleet, destroying more than 20 ships. The League would also fight two more wars for Andurien during this era of unrelenting violence. Historians date the end of the Age of War in 2556, the year that Ian Cameron, leader of the Terran Hegemony, negotiated the Andurien Peace Treaty, ending the Third Andurien War between the Capellans and the League. Several months later, the three powers signed the secret Treaty of Geneva, laying the groundwork for the creation of the Star League. By 2571, all the major houses of the Inner Sphere had agreed to form a unified Star League, but the four states of the periphery refused. The next 20 years were spent in a vicious war against these rebellious governments. Millions died before the League finally won the surrender of the last periphery state. A minor economic depression hit just after the war's end, but then an upswing began as major corporations throughout the Inner Sphere began to retool to produce civilian rather than military items. These were the good years, lasting roughly from 2600 to 2750. Science and industry contributed to making a better life for all, and the merchant-minded Free Worlds League prospered. The rapid onset of the succession crisis and the civil war fought between Stefan Amaris and the Star League resulted in the Free Worlds Parliament passing Resolution 288. This resolution assigned extraordinary power for the duration of the crisis to Kenyon Marik, an ambitious and belligerent individual. With the sudden and unexpected departure of 80% of the Star League fleet and military under the command of Alexander Kerensky, Kenyon Marik accurately surmised that the crisis wouldn't end soon. Following in the footsteps of Minoru Kurita and then of John Davian, Kenyon declared himself First Lord of the Star League in July 2786. The First Succession War began when Archon Jennifer Steiner declared war on the Draconis Combine in retaliation for recent raids. Then, Kenyon Marik led his troops in an attack that destroyed most of the Commonwealth shipbuilding facilities along their common border. Kenyon next set off after booty left behind on former Star League storehouses, supply depots and jump stations in the region of Terra. Having seized a portion of the former Terran state, Kenyon next turned his men against the Capellans, winning more worlds. When Kenyon Marik died in 2804, he still hadn't surrendered the authority granted him by the terms of Resolution 288. Ever since, a House Marik member has continuously held the post of Captain General of the Free Worlds League, ostensibly through the legal instrument of Resolution 288. At the beginning of each Marik's reign, that individual reiterates the proclamation of 2779 made by Kenyon Marik, declaring the continuation of the crisis until further notice, presumably until House Marik rules the Inner Sphere. Public support has varied over the years, usually depending on the strength of the economy or successes on the battlefront. During both the Second and Third Succession Wars, the Marik Captains General have faced challenges to Resolution 288 in the League Parliament, leaving the provinces polarised and interfering with the war effort against the League's long-time enemies, Houses Liao and Steiner. During the first years of his rule, the late Janos Marik, Captain General of the Free Worlds League from 2991 to 3035, attempted to rally support amongst the people of his realm by turning his attention to the League's many domestic problems. It was Janos' own brother, Anton, who set off the Marik Civil War in 3014 when he attempted to seize power for himself. Anton died at the hands of Natasha Kerensky, then a member of Wolf's Dragoons mercenaries whom Anton had first employed, and then betrayed. Janos executed the other leaders of this rebellion, including his own son, Gerald. On October 13th, 3022, Janos Marik met with Takashi Kirita and Maximilian Liao to sign the Concord of Capellan, tying his realm's fate to that of the Combine and Confederation. The League's poor performance during the Fourth Succession War, during which it lost 13 important systems, left Janos Marik in a precarious position. Derek Cameron Jones, spokesman of the Principality of Regulus, began to lead a reform movement aimed at removing Janos from the Captain Generalship. Fate, however, was kind to House Marik. The Duchy of Andurien seceded in September 3030, allying itself with the Magistracy of Canopus, starting the War of Andurian Succession. Marik used it as a pretext to force passage of the Internal Emergency Act of 3030, disrupting the opposition and consolidating his authority. Shortly thereafter, he suffered a severe stroke that left his son Duggan struggling against his cousin Duncan for control. Then, in 3031, Thomas Marik, who had been serving as a Comstar Presenter in the Lyran Commonwealth, returned to the League with documents proving that Janos had named him as heir designate. Janos Marik eventually recovered, but then died in 3035 in a bomb blast that also killed his son Duggan and seriously maimed Thomas. Duncan had fortuitously left the room only minutes prior. Most believe that Thomas had also died in the assassination attempt, but in 3036 he returned, healed of his injuries, to resume control. Duncan died shortly thereafter, leading his troops in a glory-seeking attack against Andurian mechs in the Xanth system. With Duncan gone, so was most of Thomas's opposition. The Free Worlds League did not commit troops against the clans, but did devote its battle mech factories to producing replacements for mech losses suffered by the Combine, Free Razelhag Republic, and the Lyran Commonwealth. Thomas Marik did not give this support freely, however. His son Joshua suffers from leukemia, and as an incentive, Hansa Davian offered the medical services of the New Avalon Institute of Technology in hopes of saving the boy. Thomas agreed to support the frontline states. Today, the Free Worlds League consists of approximately 400 worlds, divided into nearly 80 smaller principalities ranging in size from the tiny Duchy of New Assam, consisting of a single continent on Tiber IV, to the Principality of Andurien, which spans 4 worlds and controls parts of 5 others. This balkanization of the League has historically made it easier for House Marik to remain in power, preventing any other party from developing sufficient clout to pose a serious threat, but it has also made administration of the realm a bureaucratic nightmare. Though the Free Worlds League has been insulated from the invasion of the clans, diplomatic pressure by the Federated Commonwealth, and the Draconis Combine for the League to produce mechs for use on the front lines has not made the Captain General job any easier.